Hi there, thanks for watching. Okay, so in this 10th video, I want to finally start getting into the importance, the significance of locus of control in as far as personality disorders, especially NPD. Um, I'm not really sure if psychology really understands the locus of control. I'll be honest, I'm not convinced. But I do think they've identified the locus of control, and I think that's a very important observation. And I'm going to try to explain the importance of the locus of control, especially with NPD. But obviously, to me, really, all personality disorders are kind of the same problem. So I don't really see a big. I'm not really big into the distinctions, but in any case, with with NPD, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of NPD is that we have two ways of looking at narcissism. On the one hand, it almost seems like we want to look at narcissism as a very strange, exotic, rare condition, and that thank God most people are lucky not to know what it's like or not to experience it, but that it's just a very exotic kind of from another world. Who I don't even know if I know a narcissist, or maybe I've met one, and I think there may be something in there, um, maybe something telling that I guess as a public or as a humanity, we really haven't integrated the concept of narcissism into what is really happening. And I think what's really happening is that narcissism is probably not terribly common, but it's probably, like, say, as common as having a birthday in a given month. Let's say like that, like a zodiac. Okay, so somebody might say, well, gosh, I've never met a Scorpio. Yeah, you have probably met a Scorpio, or a Libra, or a Gemini, or whatever. We probably have met people from different zodiacs, and it's probably, narcissism is probably just one element of the zodiac of personalities. So now I'm not saying the disorder is that common, because I think there's probably maybe there's a good, maybe 10% of people that actually fit the narcissistic personality. But then maybe of those people, maybe another 10% that actually fall into the, 10% of the 10%. So, like, say, just a very small percentage that actually qualify as having a disorder. So you could think of the zodiac of personalities as kind of like a zodiac, just like the birthday zodiacs that we have, except that each zodiac is maybe, like, some are paranoid, some are, borderline, or whatever, or just whatever. Just think of all the different personalities. Extroverted, introverted, people who like art, people who like mathematics, people who are more into sports. Just all the different personalities. But narcissism is just one zodiac among however many. Maybe there's 10. I don't know. Maybe 15. But within that range of narcissistic, probably only, like, say, maybe only 10% of those people actually have, like, say, NPD. And so then there's the question, maybe there's a personality disorder for every zodiac. you know but the reason why this occurs to me is that you can, on the one hand, try to imagine that narcissism is kind of strange and it's kind of the exception, and you hope you never run into one, and just like those people, it's kind of like, that's kind of fishy, because on the other hand, we know that lots of people have narcissistic personalities. I mean, now, so it's kind of funny, because you can just observe it. So it's like we have this, like, concept of the narcissist as kind of that person out there, and then in the everyday situation, where you go to any, what percentage of salespeople are kind of narcissistic, or what percentage of stockbrokers, or athletes, or entertainers. It's like there's a lot of people that have narcissistic personalities. And so, or attorneys, or whatever. So you can just imagine, or I think another great category we see a lot of what I think are narcissistic people might be clergy, especially like pastors, a lot of them. So anyway, on the one hand, we want to think of narcissism as kind of like from another world, it's kind of exotic, and then on the other hand, it's pretty common. I won't say that the disorder is common, because I think that's, I think we have to define the disorder as a smaller subset of the actual personality type, but I think right there we have to just look around, and instead of listening so much to the psychologist talking about this thing out there, the narcissist, it's like, whoa, I think we just should look around the world and just, every time you see a televangelist or a pastor, or you see a good salesperson, or an aggressive stockbroker, or whatever. I mean, just politician, attorney. We should see the narcissism all around us. Or let's say really attractive people that kind of like to show off, how good looking they are, which is perfectly human, I guess. Or let's say people that kind of like over demonstrate how smart they are, kind of people that always have to choose the more fancy word to say something that maybe doesn't need to be said in fancy words, so narcissism all around us, I mean, it's one of the colors of the rainbow, let's say, so I think if there's a zodiac of personalities, I tend to see narcissism as just not an unnatural, not an exceptional, but actually a natural. It's a natural, call it a version of the human experience, So I guess when I started thinking of all these like zodiacs, I was reminded, let's say, in cats, that I've had cats, and I've also had a lot of experience with feral cats. Okay, and it's kind of interesting how you don't have to do anything magical to make a feral cat. The only thing you have to do to get a feral cat is just to raise it outside of human beings. I mean, there's nothing special. It's just all you have to do is just have cats that grow up not familiar with human beings, and they will be feral. I guess. Well, I'll take that back. If the parents of the cat are domesticated, that may not be true. So let's just assume they're born from feral parents. But it's just the magical. It's just the fact that they're not raised near human beings, and they become kind of like another kind of animal. And yet it's not like a strange thing. Any cat can be feral. So I'm just trying to draw that parallel, because you just have to do something very simple in somebody's upbringing, and they really will become a different type of person. So what I'm thinking is that maybe in the human case, maybe I will admit, I think humans are born with temperaments, because I've seen it. I've seen kids born where very shortly after birth, you can tell if they're aggressive, if they're not aggressive. You can tell if they're kind of dominant or passive. You can tell if they're, kind of like thoughtful or kind of impulsive. I mean, so those are things that there's always going to be a range, just like even in the cats. Some cats are a little more dominant. Some cats are a little more passive, whatever. Some cats are more impulsive. So the same in humans, okay? But if you do something on the level of what makes a feral cat, okay, and you do that with a person. So let's say, I'll use my example. My mom, I was born, and my mom was not really interested in having kids when I was born, so she wasn't mean to me. She wasn't, vicious, but she just wasn't really, let's say, thrilled to have a kid. And she was in the middle of a semester of medical school. And when I was born, she just handed me off to my grandmother and just went back to class, which is fine. I don't blame her at all. But I'm just thinking, similar to like what makes a feral cat, having that kind of removal and absence of a normal mother, maybe that was just the non-magical, just the situation that may have at a very early age formed this kind of drifted me off into another mode of the personality, but in a very natural, normal way. The same would happen with a cat or another person, So I'm thinking that I'm not trying to say that I'm a feral person, but I'm saying I'm using the analogy of what makes a feral cat to show that very simple things can actually shift someone into a different, mode or a different zodiac, And so maybe let's say having a very absent affection, having a marked lack of affection or a lack of um, the presence, even because my mother really wasn't with me, in the very early months. Let's say just having, like, say, a truly absent mother, that may create, let's say, that may put people in the pipeline to be, let's say, narcissistic, or let's say maybe schizoid, or you know um, try to imagine the personality types, maybe even antisocial, psychopathic, whatever. So, like, there may be like certain possibilities that would follow for somebody that doesn't get a lot of time with their own parent, at a very early age. So, anyway, just an idea, but the whole point is that, um, not to look at these personalities as like strange, exceptional, alien. These are very natural personality types that will just happen in the population. So then, moving on to what actually makes the disorder, this is where we get into the locus of control, because I think just having a narcissistic personality by itself doesn't even have to be a problem. Okay, because I think this is where the locus of control comes in. And if we can understand what the two types of locus of control, in psychology, they talk about the internal locus of control and the external locus of control. And basically, when they talk about the external locus of control, that is supposed to be highly predictive or highly correlated with people that have addiction problems and people that have personality issues. Okay, so obviously we want to try to examine, obviously in the next video, but leading up to the next video, we want to really focus on what makes the difference between somebody with, like, say, a narcissistic or a paranoid personality style, okay, which is just a zodiac characteristic. It doesn't even have to be dysfunctional at all. But what makes the difference of let's say, a narcissistic, or let's say a paranoid person, or even a slightly psychopathic person? But here's the difference. Somebody who falls into those categories of personality, but who has, let's say, an external locus of control, which means they're at high risk to be symptomatic or to be problematic, versus the people in the same categories who have an internal locus of control, which means that they're more, whatever the magic is of an internal locus of control. Obviously, psychology has their theories, and I'm going to propose my theory in the next video as to what really makes the difference between anybody who falls anywhere in the zodiac, and then what type of locus of control they have. And of course, I apologize if you guys haven't heard of locus of control. You guys could look it up on, I guess, like on Wikipedia or whatever. Basically, the important thing to remember is that the people who have an externalized locus of control, those are the people that are a strong correlation with addictions and behavior problems. So, or the kind of people that would end up seeking treatment, or needing help in life. Okay, so obviously, somehow we're kind of moving away from the personality type, and we're actually focusing really on the locus of control. That's interesting. So no matter what personality we have, we're going to always come back to the real problem, which is not the personality type, but actually the locus of control. And so in the end, maybe the wisdom, if there is one, is maybe not to focus so much or worry so much about what type of personality we have, and to have faith that where we really have to focus is in the locus of control. And that could be the game changer if it's possible. Now, I'm not going to pretend it's possible, but at least I think it's worth exploring. Well, I guess I'm not going to say it's impossible, but at least it's worth exploring. What can be gained by focusing on the locus of control and not so much the personality. So in the next video, I'll focus more on that. Thank you very much for watching.